Rachael broke her pinky right before we opened, so that's a funny story that we were about to open our doors and just the pinky.
Yeah, but I had to have surgery on it, so then it was out.
How important is the pinky?
Yes,
Like,
very.
yeah.
That's the title of the episode.
How can you do this? How important?
We've never named an episode, but how important is it?
Might be the one.
That's the hook right there.
I feel like the pinky's important, but it's not the thumb.
I mean, I don't know that I've ever given a back rub to like my wife or anything really focused on some pinky heavy techniques.
It's a lot of
I feel like you'd be like, stop touching me. To get better at doing formal introductions at the beginning of our podcast about who we're talking to and why.
You nail it every time.
I don't think it's, most of the time it's just like a soft, just like we're just talking, chit chat. And so, yeah, welcome Sierra and Rachael from Simply Therapeutic Massage here in our building in Green Hills. We are excited to have you here because every time I've come downstairs and just kind of like casually chit-chatted, we always get into a really interesting conversation about business, about philosophy, about all sorts of things.
I was like, sorry, you have to go. Sorry, I'm talking. Go. You're like coming back from getting coffee from Starbucks, and I'm like, hey, hi, this and that. Okay, go. Just go. This is nice to have a formal setting for you.
Yeah. So I had an idea for a really interesting segment that I would lay down on the table and then get a massage while we have the conversation. No, that's a bad idea.
What you don't know about that is I would do so much better talking during that than this.
Okay.
I'm just like
We're like
getting weird.
All right. So, Simply Therapeutic Massage. Sierra and Rachael, why don't you guys take a little moment here and introduce yourselves a bit more fully? I would like to know kind of how you guys met, how you came up with the idea to go into business together, just a brief introduction about all the details of your life.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so it started in August of
So you were born
With a man and a woman.
So there was a pig farm in Rockford. True story.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Rockford, Illinois.
Radford? Rockford,
Yeah.
Illinois.
He's never gotten past Kentucky.
I also say it with that real excellent.
Illinois was part of the tri-state area. It's a tri-state area.
Oh, okay.
Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and part of Kentucky I grew up in.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're both
Indiana
Midwest
got one
gals.
thing? Yeah, which were you?
Ohio.
Okay.
Ohio.
We're all Midwesterners.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not a
Kentucky.
Midwesterner. Slow down.
Did not lump me in with
No,
that.
Kentucky I think is still south.
Yeah, I would say so.
Southern, it's the south.
You just clipped the border there of being able to say
Yeah.
Midwest. Yeah.
Mhm.
You're not missing anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
What, 2018 we met?
2018. we
Yeah.
met.
Rachel
Yes.
already lived here in Nashville. What year did you move here?
2014.
So way before.
Yeah,
She was
so-
way cooler than
Yeah.
me. Way ahead of the curve. Yeah.
So Sierra started working at the massage studio I worked at.
Mhm.
Then the studio went crazy.
Yeah, sort of though. I feel like
She
I
was
brought
here
it.
like 2 months and it flooded. So.
Yeah. It was
oh,
nuts.
wait a minute. The flood, that was 2010, right?
Oh no, sorry. Pipe burst.
Oh,
And the
It was
people.
nuts.
It was on the weekend when we weren't there, and it burst in this like apartment above us, and nobody was there either. So for like we're guessing about 48 hours, water was just
Consistently pouring down.
was this a business that you guys owned together, or you were just
No.
employees working
Yeah.
together?
we were
Yeah,
employees
we just
working
worked there. Rachel was a therapist and I was the studio manager there.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
started in March, I think,
Yeah.
and then we
That was
flooded in
June.
June. So I don't know what I did. Like,
Bad
for
luck.
sure. Like this weird girl.
But at that studio, I also did like some
Reception.
front desk stuff and so Sierra and I were kind of thrown into the thick of it from the start,
Like, right off
dealing
the
with
bat.
like figuring that out and helping
Yeah.
get us moved to a new location and all of that stuff.
Okay, so that was 2018?
That was 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so then we moved. That was a mess. So that location flooded. Moved to a temporary location in Berry Hill, and then that was for like a year. Moved to another location in Berry Hill, all in this like 2-year span from 2018 to 2020. And then, of course, nothing big happened in 2020.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I bet you started your idea to start a business together in 2020.
Yeah, it was
Probably around
great.
February.
Yeah, it was great timing. Yeah, it was
March.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
early
I
March.
thought about massage business getting hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like, get COVID proof. Like,
No, like, there's nothing you can do. We did the best navigated, and the owner at the time was like, "Hey, I've been open 20 years. That like literally 20 years. Like I'm out. COVID. It's good timing."
Yeah.
But then we were like, and a couple of the other therapists were like, "Well, we want to keep going. Are we gonna rent rooms? Are we gonna? I don't want to go get another job. I love you guys. Like these are my friends, and we all get along." So one of the therapists said something like, "Wouldn't it be funny if we started our own place?" And we were like, LOL. Yeah, sure. And then
LLL turned into LLC.
Yes.
stop it.
Man, that
That's
was-
amazing.
Wow.
Smooth. It really did though.
Yeah.
That's smooth, yeah. And we just kind of like we knew we had the behind the scenes knowledge because we'd been doing it for so long, and I had done so much with the studio we were at that we were like, we can definitely do this and make it tailored to what our beliefs are and like our values are for the therapist. And we've talked a lot about like employee care and making it a space where it's good for not only clients but your people too. And it like weirdly just happened so perfectly.
It's very fast. I
Very
feel like.
quickly.
I mean, yeah.
We had a team of there was like 4 therapists that came with us
Yeah.
that wanted to come along for the ride and trusted us to open the studio and make something of it. We got a location here very quickly in this building that was like perfect for us.
Yeah.
And when we tell people that we opened in 2020, they're always like, "Oh shit, 2020?" And we're like, wait, though. We had a 20-year business of clients that knew us,
Already knew.
the therapist that came along with us. So we were very fortunate to open with an actual client base established already.
Yeah.
And they came during the pandemic, during like the lockdown. They would.
Yeah.
just
Well,
mask up. Like,
it was,
how did
yeah.
you?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a lot of. So I mean, it was a lot of people. I mean, I had been by the time the business we were at before it closed. I had been there for 6 years. A couple of the therapists had been there probably 10 years.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, the clients who came were the ones that were like, "I've seen you
We
once
trust
a
you."
month for 6 years. Like, I know what you do. It's like I trust you're gonna wear a mask. I trust you'll be fine if I wear a mask."
Yeah.
And so we were very lucky in that we had a client list, but we also had a client list we had relationships with, and we had that trust already built.
Yeah.
So they knew they could feel comfortable, or they knew what they could expect from us depending on their level of comfortability with what was going on. So I mean,
They
definitely
trusted us.
slower, definitely fewer people, but I mean enough to keep us going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird time.
Amazing.
It's a
So. Yeah.
weird time, right?
Yeah.
That was a weird
Yeah.
time. So, I know that. I mean, obviously for mental health therapy, everything went virtual, and it was just like the floodgates opened up because everybody wanted therapy all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
Oh yeah.
Much needed.
The
Yeah.
cat definitely got
Yeah.
out of the bag with
Yeah.
parents being stuck in their houses 24/7 with their kids, and spouses being stuck with each other, and work
Yeah.
stress and
Yeah.
all of this stuff
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of like ramped up, and so it was really a difficult time for a lot of people, and I feel incredibly fortunate that it was not one for me.
That's awesome.
It definitely changed my life.
Yeah.
The circumstances could not have been more advantageous
I love
to
that.
start a therapy business.
Yeah, I love that. Though. I love the like finding that silver lining of things. Of like, people were taking mental health more seriously at the time and saying, "Let's get resources for help." And going digital for everything is really nice to be able to. Or virtual, digital. How old am I? I just said TRL and digital. Yay! But going virtual for things, I feel like was like huge. Like we needed that,
Yeah.
and then it still continued to roll over too.
It also didn't hurt that it was right around an election cycle in October 2020. 20 whenever I got my license, and I was like, oh, I'm getting very busy for people not only going into like the holiday season, leading into Thanksgiving. It usually gets really busy because we're like, okay, now I've got a month of seeing family, and it was the 2020 election, and that was very stressful and contentious, especially going into Thanksgiving dinners. And so,
I can imagine.
Circumstantially, it was like, okay, this seems...
Similar with massage? Do you see that your business ramps up when it's stressful?
I think
climate
so.
and stressful times?
I think that was part of what worked through like COVID in 2020 was people were stressed out and like striving for that connection too. And I feel like we were fortunate that we had a safe space where people could come and like said trust us. And I feel like that's carried over like more so like from the pandemic, and then now it's like going into holiday seasons are like a stressful time of like their life, like finals. We see a lot of like college students coming in for finals and testing and stuff. But I feel like that's more normal now than it was, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and I would even say, I mean, similar to people during the pandemic being at home and like, oh, I have to take care of my mental health. This isn't great. I feel like we saw a little bit, there's just overall wellness. I feel like people put a bigger focus on. And so I think we definitely, particularly in 2021, as people started to feel more comfortable, we saw a huge uptick in clients coming in, or even clients who maybe I would only see like if something hurt, now all of a sudden they're like, I'm committing to doing this once a month so I don't hurt. Like I've made this commitment to my health and wellness, and so like this is gonna come before other things. And I feel like we definitely saw that maybe a little bit later than you guys did, but I feel like we kind of got that as well with people just focusing on that.
That's so cool.
Which,
I bet we send
very
people to each other too. Like I talk to people sometimes about like just speaking with a pregnant woman where I'm just like, and what are you doing for you? And she's like, I'm saying no to a lot of things. Like that's good, but also like what are you? And then she's like, I don't have time to schedule that. I'm like, sounds like you need to ask someone else. Like you delegate kind of thing. And then you probably, I'm curious about body stuff and trauma, or do you have people that like, isn't that there's a connection between massage specifically that they can get emotional and kind of
it's so cool that that's part of it. So we partner with a few places where a few of our therapists specifically offer trauma-informed body work for like PTSD or severe anxiety or like a variety of things, and then just regular massage in general, coming in for, just a number of things with that release that comes in your cognitive brain, but also your deep energy stored parts that have the trauma in there that, like I've experienced myself of being massaged, and then they, touch a certain part of your body and you're like, oh my God, I'm crying. Whoa. Okay, Dad. And you're like, I didn't expect that because it's stored in the part. So that has been really cool to see of clients coming out and they're like crying and they're like, that was insane. I just came in to relax. Like, you're welcome. See you next week.
Go upstairs.
You want to finish.
We've got resources upstairs. Yes, that has been really cool though, having you guys in the building and able to have close counseling to say, there's not really the excuse of not knowing anywhere. It's right there. You can just walk
thank
right
you.
up. Yeah, it's been really cool. We get a lot of people that ask us about resources in the community, I think because they feel safe with us, and they'll start to share that therapy aspect, but obviously we're not therapists in that way. So there's only so much we can do before we're like, I think you might need to talk to someone. So it's really nice to be able to be like, we've got a lot of great people close by. So that's been really cool.
And I just showed you our like neurofeedback for people who are like busy and they or maybe they've got some apprehensions about coming in and sitting down or talking with the therapist, or maybe they're already seeing a therapist but they can't sleep or whatever it is. Like we have those protocols to just kind of help people relatively short period of time start seeing improvements on sleep, sleep or anxiety. Shannon, she's been doing neurofeedback.
Alpha theta
She loves alpha theta training.
I've got the little glues in my hair right now. I do it like every other day. I do the alpha theta training, and it's really meditative. It's like
that's cool.
helping your alpha waves like lower, trying to get my alpha down below 18.
Your alpha was really high.
It's like my thinking brain is like always going, and I'm trying to get my theta, like the calm focus up. And you're supposed to get the alpha theta to cross is like the goal. And when it crosses, you're sort of in that hypnagogic, meditative. I've gotten it to cross like 4 or 5 times.
What's that feel like when you get to?
Just like,
do you know?
It's that sleep, that feeling of like right before you go to sleep, kind of, where you're like, am I here?
It's almost like you can get into like a lucid dream state.
Okay.
Okay.
And you'll see it when it kind of like when it happens, and then if it jolts out. And one time I was too distracted. My mind was so busy. I could see like how busy it was, and then I was like, F it, I gotta just like check my email. I did, and then I watched it, and like there's a little lag, but then afterwards I checked it, and it was like shoot, it shot up, like it, because I wasn't even reading a stressful email, but it just activated. And one time I fell asleep, and the delta was like, like that's where I passed out.
I
so it's
love
really
that.
neat.
Like real-time feedback. That's awesome.
Well, I've got a client that I sent to neurofeedback training for insomnia, sleep disorders. She, tracking on her Apple Watch, she was getting like 15 or 18 minutes of delta sleep every night when you need like 2 to 2.5 hours. And I thought I was bad, averaging like 30 minutes whenever I started doing this protocol. In the last therapy session she was in, I was just like checking in with her, and she went to her app, and I was like, so how are you sleeping? And the funny thing is, she's like, I don't know, I was like, well, let's check the data. And so she went from like 18 minutes, and every night after she had a neurofeedback session, she got more than an hour of deep sleep. Whoa. And I was like, you gotta pay attention to that. And so, I know cool. Whenever I did SMR for the first time, which is the sleep protocol, I went from like 27 to 32 minutes was like my range of deep sleep. I got an hour and a half that night of deep sleep. And I woke up and I felt like a superhero.
Like you can feel different?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you feel rested. Like I just like woke up and I was awake. And
What's that like? That sounds great.
Isn't it funny that getting the right amount of sleep, you're like, I feel like a superhero, not just a normal person.
So
like,
many of the things
different.
that people struggle with, of mood or emotional dysregulation and just chronic pain in their body. It's like if you don't get into that deep sleep, you're not releasing the type of hormones that repair your body at night. Yeah. And so... And you're also not getting into that deep, like, cleaning out the clutter in your brain type of, process either. And so it's such a powerful tool to have here. And I'm not trying to, like, just pitch that right now. But it is, when you guys have somebody coming in for, like, chronic pain or tension and things like that, well, in addition to a good sound massage, how much would they benefit from having a good sound night of sleep too? So
those go perfectly
send them
together.
up. I talk about you guys quite often, and I tend to be a little careful about like the recommendations that I give to clients because again, like if I say go downstairs, you're going to be treated with respect and they're professional and they're they're on it and it's going to be a good massage.
My goodness.
And they go down there and it's like garbage. Yeah. Then that doesn't.
Chomp.
I look like
at all times. Yeah.
So
only when Sierra does.
Yeah, only me.
Do you do massages?
Only garbage.
Only garbage massages.
No, I am not a licensed massage therapist, so I should not be doing massages. Do not do massages at all. Everything besides massage.
She literally does everything.
Oh, you did like the Friends episode where which character like did it?
Phoebe.
But Phoebe did it, but then somebody else like got stuck doing the stuff.
Ross
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, like
he was like rolling the car on people's
That would
backs
be
and
me
stuff.
doing massage. Yeah.
I think he had at one point like kitchen utensils.
Yeah, he's like,
yeah, that would be me doing a massage, just rolling a toy car. And just like,
I would just get distracted. It'd be like 5 minutes, they'd be like, are you there? And I'd be like, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm busy.
This is boring me.
I would just talk the whole time.
Distracted.
I have no chill.
Well, now I can because I'm But it is like really compatible with people that maybe you probably see a lot of people that don't want to take meds for pain, or maybe they have taken meds, or maybe they've been addicted or something.
Yeah.
So
Or even
it's
for
kind of
sleep.
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see a lot of people that struggle with sleep either from pain or like anxiety, just because of the nature of like the people's jobs in Nashville and the amount of people that we see in different professions. If it's not actual physical pain, sometimes it's just anxiety stressing them out. We get people like on massage tables who are on their phone that you're like, dude, just take 60 minutes.
Oh, that's horrible.
Right?
You do
I
that?
take naps on y'all's tables.
That's amazing.
I come in, my face goes down,
Yes.
and it's just like that pressure for whatever reason on my face.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and like there's like a coming out of my mouth on the floor.
That's a compliment to your
Except for that one that I got, and you know who I'm talking about, and she called me a baby.
Did you cry?
I was almost crying. I was making some weird noises, and she was doing body work. I'm like, I think she was taking out some repressed anger out on me. It felt in the best type of bad. It was like, oh my God, this. Yeah, she definitely worked some stuff out.
It's a lot.
She didn't touch into any of my trauma, but she did almost make me cry.
She's like, I know you need this.
Yes.
For sure. Yes.
Well, and I came in bitching about like being stiff and sore and you know all of this mobility, shoulder, hip stuff from jiu-jitsu, and she was like, "Say no more."
Yeah, she's like, I got you.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun today.
And then she was like, "You need to do this like once a week." I'm like, "I don't think I can."
Yeah.
I don't think I can.
Did you limp out of there like you limp out of jiu-jitsu? And
No, actually, I didn't live. I mean, it
I
was.
broke my toe on my lunch break. I'm like, you did what?
Casual lunch break.
Yeah.
We're
gotta
super
tape it together.
careful about like I was gonna say careful and picky about when people call in and ask for like what they're looking for. I know you've gotten this when you're like, hey, you got anything today? I'm like, what are you looking for? Or like, what are you in the mood for
I'm
today?
gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, oh, then I got you. You know, like if you want to relax, I got you. But if you want to get some work
be
done,
ruined.
are you going home after this? Then I can get you at the right
Get a
therapist.
driver to get you home.
Yeah.
That's so hard to do.
We need to partner with Uber now. We'll get you home. Yes. Yeah, but you can feel super sore afterwards and super like not quite relaxed after, and that's just the spectrum of body work that I think we're trying to educate more people on.
Yeah, for sure.
Much like counseling, as like there's a spectrum of what you need. It's not just one size fits all. You should try to fit with who works with you best, and that can change. And as you've experienced, that's definitely how we are. Like, you don't have to stick with one style. It can be a variety over multiple times and change depending on what your lifestyle is. If you are in jiu-jitsu or went on a vacation or whatever. Yeah.
So how many therapists do you guys have working downstairs?
11, including Rachael.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. 5 rooms, and they all kind of rotate between, I'm sure what we're talking about, like rooms and stuff, where they kind of rotate depending on the day. But 11, it's pretty cool. All varying degrees of experience too. Like we like to hire, I think we've talked about this too, like hiring fresh out of school.
Oh yeah.
We love that too.
Do massage therapists have to do internships?
I don't think.
It's part of school. So most massage schools have like
Plus
a
your
student
hours.
clinic that they have to work in and get so many
Oh, so they
hours.
don't have like a placement in the community.
So it depends on state and school. So I went to school in Illinois, and so in Illinois you had to go to, like, you had to have an outside placement, but it was through our school. So I worked in a hospital. So my my clinic hours were split between the student clinic and then the hospital. So I don't believe Tennessee has that. I
like a
think they just
requirement.
work in the student clinic. So,
What made you want to do massage?
I didn't know what to do with my life.
Fair.
It truly was meant to be. So I graduated. I have my bachelor's in psychology and neuroscience, and I knew I needed a lot more school
I know,
to
right?
do
Yeah,
anything with it.
that in there casually.
Wow.
To be fair, it was one extra class to get the neuroscience
Yeah,
double
you like knew
major.
more about, the alpha thing, all those brain waves we were talking about
Like,
before.
I know.
You're just like,
Also, I maybe knew that like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a little blurry now.
that's so cool.
But so I knew I needed more school, but I wasn't sure what avenue I wanted to do. And I had a friend who had just graduated from massage school, and I swam in college, and we worked with a massage therapist. So I was kind of like, well, this is kind of a cool way to work with people. And so I started looking, and so I was like, well, I'll go to massage school. It's flexible hours. It would be possible to be in grad school and still work and make a decent amount of money without, having to work 40 hours a week. So that was always the plan. And then I never went to grad school.
Yeah, did you fall in love with it,
Yes,
kind of?
yeah, I did. Yeah,
For sure.
it was
Oh,
like,
but
it just sort of clicked. It was like, oh, this is it. Yep.
I
Oh,
love that.
that would be a cool if you did both. Like one day, I'm not trying to
Right?
steal her from
No,
you, but like that would be
yeah.
a wild, like
Yeah.
get therapy
Yes.
and a massage like from one person.
That would be pretty
Ooh.
awesome.
Be interesting boundaries. You'd have to write a whole new code of ethics about like
I
touch and
don't
hug
know
and
if I-
boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
how
how
that
to
work.
I really
Yeah.
like my
How do you
boundary
switch
of,
modes?
you can keep talking about that. I can't respond to that because
Yeah.
I'm not trained
Yeah.
like that.
Stay in my lane.
Yeah.
We do have a few therapists though who have degrees in some kind of like therapy or counseling or like background, like Rachael, who they do have to hit that boundary of being like, and not here licensed massage therapist.
Yeah.
Okay, not right now.
I think massage therapists, bartenders, and hairdressers are all like could all become therapists really quickly. Probably.
Because you get all of it at once. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine talking during a massage. I'm telling you, like I want to shut down.
Yeah,
I want to
just
shut off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Maybe after and be like,
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel
So-
like it depends too. Like depends on the person, depends on the day.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna kind of go into like, so you have 11 therapists,
Mhm.
and they're all kind of like a variety, and you had mentioned you like to hire them early, like in their careers.
Yeah.
So what is the thought behind that? It's just kind of like you'd rather have a blank slate and just kind of have somebody who's easily, you can easily get ingrained into your culture, or do you just tell me about it? Because I know why I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
I think it's sort of a combination thing. It's nice to have somebody who's sort of a blank slate and they haven't.
I don't.
Unfortunately, the way sometimes the massage industry can be as a massage therapist is not great, and so you're not trying to undo their previous job trauma.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that sort of blank slate of like, no, when we say we're going to do this, we're going to actually follow through and do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, like that sort of stuff. But it's also really cool to be able to provide an environment where you can watch the therapist grow and sort of figure out, you know, what modalities they want to follow and what ones fit into their practice, and even figuring out what type of clients they like to work on. You know, we'll talk to them in the interview, like, who's your ideal client? What's your favorite modality? You know, and seeing them kind of like, some are really confident this is what I want, and some are like, you know, I don't really know. But seeing them, even the ones who are confident, that kind of change as they actually get their hands on people and work with them. So I feel like that's pretty fun, and hopefully we've tried to do this. It's been nice to be able to provide an environment where they can do that and just really sort of navigate.
Yeah.
This is what I want, and this is, you know, the type of people I want to see.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like that's right. Like that makes sense with having, because we've hired a lot of different, like some very experienced therapists, some that are kind of like middle of the road, but we have hired a lot of fresh therapists, if not right out of school, maybe like a year, and they have had some experience with like hands-on work, but don't have a lot of massage jobs are focused on like, this is what you do here. This is our work. This is, you know, A, B, C, D of the massage, and being able to give them the freedom to explore, like, we don't have to do that. You can do something else if you want. You don't need, you know, a laundry list of modalities to be successful. You can do 4 and be a fantastic therapist and have a full client base and see only the clients you want to see. And I think starting that early is very cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like identical to your.
I know.
Like, I'm telling you, the conversations that we have downstairs.
I feel like we could just stare at each other and be like, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
See the clients you want to see.
See the
and
clients you want to see.
That's why I love supervising people too, like watching people's niche like develop. Or my experience was like, I was like, I really want to work with men, and now I'm like, I love working with men. You know, like you don't always know the people that have thought they wanted to work with kids, and then they're like, I just like my own kids. It turns out I don't really want to work with other people.
Doesn't work.
Or you don't know until you try it. So you get to see. Do you
so
mentor a lot too? Like are there like people
said that.
involved? Yeah, like
Yes, you do.
assigned that
You
you're the
do.
mentor?
Apparently, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess it kind of feels like it
We
sometimes.
don't have a specific like mentorship program set up, but I feel like just in the regular conversations, you have, particularly with the therapist, but
Yeah.
then when we try to have regular meetings, particularly with the newer therapists, and like kind of just checking in and see how they're doing. I mean, I do feel like you do that because we're consistently asking them, you know, how they're feeling about the clients they're seeing, the work they're doing. And,
Yeah, we check in a lot.
Yeah.
Especially newer therapists, which I'm sure you probably do with newer anyone on your team. Being able to just make sure they're happy, like even if it's like our receptionist, I'm still like, hey, are you still happy? Like we check in with Summer all the time. We're like, do you still like what you do? Do you want more responsibility? You know, like you don't want to just leave it as is and just be like, this is what you do and that's all. We try and like regularly have conversations with them about like, are you feeling inspired? Are you feeling burnt out? Are you taking enough time off? Do you need to preemptively request off in 2 weeks to recharge? And you know, how is your modalities working for you? Do you still like working with kids? And we've had therapists who are like, you know, I've been doing prenatals for 10 years and now I'm over it. You know, or do you change it up? And it's keeping it fresh for not only new people that are a year in, but like 10 years in. 15 years in.
Yeah, I think especially in professions like ours where we come to work and the work that we do is about caring for other people, and then we go home and many of us care for other people.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate that. It sounds like a value, maybe like vocational value you have is experiencing yourselves as employers who care about your people.
Yeah.
And you demonstrate that by like checking in. I know that we've had to have conversations with, we have like 2 or 3 therapists who consistently see in like the mid 30s, which is a very high caseload of, and they seem to manage it. And I've kind of like eased up about it here, you know, in the last several months, but like there for a while, it was just kind of like, hey, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, like you're really busy.
Yeah.
But also because of the value of Benjamin Holmes Counseling and Switchback is like autonomy of the professional. If that's how much you want to work, do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you can't, but also you have to be meeting with your supervisor, and you know, we have to make sure that it's not just you know, you just kind of overloading yourself because you are having a hard time saying no or whatever.
We do see that a lot.
Yeah.
We see a lot of therapists who I think come from other jobs where they're used to working back to back. And I don't know if it's the same thing with therapists too, where they just boom, 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 person after person after person. And that's so much. Like you said, you're putting so much into your sessions, and that you can't just like, okay, take that hat off, put that one on. And it's a lot between each. It's hard to go back to back to back.
Yeah, and in the nature of our business, like you only make money when you see clients. And so for somebody fresh out of college, imagine being 24, right out of grad school. You're 24 and you are doing the math and you're like, oh, if I can get up to 30 to 35 plus the admin time, I could be making 6 figures.
Yeah.
And you're like, at 24? And so then there's this rush, and it's exhilarating.
Sure.
Like, it's thrilling whenever, you know, you check in with a therapist, and it's almost like, oh, you got 5 this week, and then the next week, oh, it's 8, and then a month later, you're like, you're at 15, and it's like this celebration of getting busy. But then also there's a downside to that, to where I know that whenever I started in private practice during the pandemic, I would consistently see 45. Because I would start with, there was a nurse that I would see in the morning. My earliest session was 6:30 a.m. because I would see her in her office virtually. She would log on to a virtual session in her office at 6:30 so that she could be done with therapy and ready to go by like 8.
Jeez Louise.
And then I would do back to back to back in my home office until 8 p.m.
Oh my God.
And
you're like,
so I went from, I went from making, you know, at my full-time corporate mental health job where I was like marketing and admissions director, I made $73K a year, to like all of a sudden I'm averaging $120 an hour working 45 hours a week. And that was addicting, especially coming from a background of like, never had money. I didn't know what to do with all that money. And it was the pandemic, and so like there was no place to spend it other than the stock market, you know. And so then I just like day traded, you know, with all of my extra money.
And time.
So, but then out of that value of like autonomy of like, okay, if I got to choose that and had that opportunity, then like if someone else wants to do that, I'm not going to stand in their way. But I feel like we've also built another value at both of my companies is support. We've built in support, so there's like weekly group supervisions, and everybody has a clinical supervisor, and people can go to your book club, or we have a group meet where we share resources, and if you want to go get trained, you know, there's support for you to go get trained in brain spotting or EMDR or whatever it is. And then there's paid time off, and you know, like just trying to build as much support in as well, so that people can kind of find those balances, because it can be addicting. I mean, I can't pay people $120 an hour, but when you're pre-licensed and you're making, you know, $45 or $50 an hour, like that's not bad. And so it can get really,
I can imagine.
exciting.
Yeah, because you're like, I want to do this. And I do feel like we can see something very similar with therapists, especially the newer therapists too, like you're saying, where they come to us and we pay the higher percent that we do, and then they're like, but we do that so that therapists don't have to work as much. We want them to have a work-life balance. So the experienced therapists are like, dope, I need to do this many appointments in a week and I'm good and I can still have a life. But the newer therapists might be more like, I can do 25 and I'll make so much money. But like the toll on your body, your mental health with not getting a break, and the emotion that goes through that too. So we try and have like structures, and Rachel's been really good about this when we have therapists at start, of guiding them with that, of like, just see how many you need to offer, start with that, and then you can always add on more if you need to, but don't like start like balls to the wall, like 20 million appointments in a month just because, you know, it's a good financial paycheck, but at what cost to you physically?
Now, if I see more than like 4 sessions or 5 in a day, I'm just like, I'm blown. That's busted.
Well, you put all your effort into it. Like,
but I think back like 4 years ago, I'd see 10. I mean, how did I do that?
Is there a different toll if you do something virtual versus in person? Like, do you notice a difference for yourself?
I am so bored on virtual therapy sessions. I hate them so much.
They're listening, Benji. We're not bored. I'm not bored. But I
hate them so much.
I do. We're similar. Our brains were similar. Like whatever. So like I like way more engaged. It's the energy, the woo-woo side of me. I'm like I feed off of this, and I'm more entertained and engaged, and like how they're sitting and moving and playing with my fidget thing, and then they're asking me about the book, and I'm like, that's cool. It's nice to see people's like cats and stuff. That's also funny. And like to talk to people about their homes and be like, oh, you match your house. Your house is so colorful. Like that's neat. But I do get border on virtual sessions.
I feel like I get that though, because even see like my therapist and I have done like 2 or 3 virtual because we've had to, and it's fine. Like we know each other well enough, but we just don't. You don't have that same energy with each other. Like I can see her looking at my posture, like looking at something where she's like, you did something there, but you can't when it's just from like the waist down.
And the breathing changes. I asked someone something today, and I was like, that affected you, didn't it? Like his whole like, he did like a thing that I would have missed.
Virtually.
I can't remember exactly what it was we talked about. But
my therapist is so good at doing virtual sessions. It was really, it freaked me out because we started seeing each other virtually. And she, like, I was the one distracted on my own therapy session because I'm sitting here at my desk. It's my time. Who gives a shit if I'm reading an email while also trying to process my, you know, childhood wounds? But she like called me out on it, and I was just like, I don't understand how you just sit so perfectly still, in frame, and you're looking at me the entire time. And like, I'm like, how do you keep eye contact virtually, but you do it somehow?
How?
And so, but it wasn't working for me, so now I drive to Mount Juliet
worth it.
once a week or so.
Absolutely worth it though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
we did a lot of Zoom meeting when we first opened with like us and our lawyer, and like just planning things because of the pandemic, and not that we live far from each other, but it was just easier to jump on calls and stuff. And that we're not
virtual people.
We're so hands-on, so in-person people, so that. Very glad that massage doesn't translate to virtual.
That one will never,
All right, so can I ask some like very pointed since this is the 8 Domains podcast? So we've talked a lot. You've answered, the questions kind of indirectly, but for the viewers, when we talk about 8 Domains, we talk about the physical, the emotional and mental, the spiritual or inspirational, the relational, romantic, vocational, financial, and recreational. So a lot of the conversations that we have had have been vocational and then relational.
Yeah.
Like the relationships that we want to have with our clients, the relationships we want to have with the people working with us.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is this: how do you both want to experience yourselves as business owners? Let's start there.
Yeah.
So if you could just take a minute, we can edit out long pauses. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
How do you want to experience yourself as owners of Simply Therapeutic Massage?
That's a great question.
Because that's your value.
Yeah. I feel like for us, it's we're in like, we've kind of structured ourselves as this unique, division of each. Like very early on, Rachel and I were like, we want employee Rachel, employee Sierra, and then owner Sierra, owner Rachel.
Oh.
And so we can kind of see ourselves from the employee standpoint and still look at, the same people, but being like, wow, those are really good owners that I respect, and they listen to me as an employee, and like in that perspective. So I feel like as owners, that's a hard question because I'm so used to thinking of myself from the employee perspective, where I feel like that's an interesting question.
Maybe you just answered it a bit though.
Right?
Like you value experiencing yourself as someone who is connected to the actual work being done.
Yeah.
Yes. That's totally the point I was making. Thank you.
Which I think a lot of leaders miss out on, right?
Yeah.
Like, all the horror stories that I've heard and experienced is like from having supervisors or working for business owners who were so far removed from what was actually happening down on the ground floor of operations. And they would just like pop in and be like, well, this isn't happening the way that we want it to happen. And you're like, well, it's fucking impossible to do it the way you want it to be done.
Yes.
But you don't know that because you're
Yeah, we're
in
here.
Pennsylvania and I'm in Nashville.
Yeah.
And you have your grand vision of how things are supposed to go. But I just, got poo flung at me from this severely mentally ill person. And you're telling me that anyways, I've got some.
keep going.
I've got some
That's
stories.
just off the top of your head, though, not experience.
I've got some stories.
I'm sure.
There was a whole summer I wore a thick Wilson leather jacket to work because I knew I was going to get bit.
Oh
I was
my
going to
God.
get. I was like, she was coming at me every single day.
That's
Was she
intense.
biting everybody, or she was
Oh, it was
Just
me.
you. Yeah,
I was the boss, and so
It was you, Shannon.
She would have bit everyone else,
Yeah.
but I value myself as a leader who takes care of my people. And so I wore a thick brown leather, Wilson leather jacket because I knew she was going to try and bite me, and I could just kind of put a forearm up, and she would latch on, and it was just, at that point, it was just more like a pain in the ass instead of an actual pain in the arm.
Yeah.
But and so
We're not doing enough for our team. I'm taking bites for
that
our
was
team.
insane, by the way.
Yeah.
That should have never been the situation. But anyhow, so valuing yourselves as people who actually know what's going on with your employees because you're
That's
still
huge.
working in the company, in the operations side.
That was huge from the structure, from when we opened. Like we built our model on we are employees, we don't want to get too big, we don't want multiple locations, we don't want too many rooms, too many therapists, we want to keep it small so that Rachel and I can always know what's going on and relate to our therapist and not have it be that disconnect that we have both experienced, both together and separately, of that where it's you're in that middleman spot of the owner wants something but then you're trying to relate it to the team and the team wants something, and there's this yucky feeling just constantly around that we were like, that's never happening here.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like a core value of making sure we are connected with our team
Yeah.
as well as our clients too.
Well, yeah, and it's that kind of concept of like we work for the business as well as own the business. Like
Yeah.
it's not so we understand what the employees are feeling as well as, trying to make the decisions as the owners.
Yeah.
So,
I think you being a therapist helps with that too. Like having Rachael be on the schedule, in the rooms, in the rotation, just like everybody else, on the same level. Like we're just very like, we know what's going on. We can relate. We know if like the linens are late or, you know, we need more essential oils because someone smells like cigarettes or something, you know, like we're like, we can relate because we're there and we can experience it too. I think that makes a huge difference.
I'm curious how you know you're being successful and like connecting to, like, how do you know that they feel, I guess.
Oh, that's a great question.
Like, how can you tell when you're being successful in it?
They tell us.
They're just
I feel like that is huge. Like our therapists I walked into the break room the other day and 3 of our therapists were there tearing up because they were like, you guys are so wonderful. I don't remember what we did that day, but maybe it was our 40-year.
It might have been our 40-year.
It was something we were celebrating, but they were like, I've just never been treated this way. And they'll like express it to us, and, like tell us their experiences. And I feel like
that stay probably. Like if they don't like
stay, yes.
Yeah. And I feel like that makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it too is, I mean, they express this, but also, you know, if they ask us a question or ask for something, they're like, hey, we don't have enough blankets, could you order? And then we do it, and they're like, that's all we just had to ask for.
One of my favorite, one of the things that I enjoy saying the most to people is like, send me a link.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just send me a link. People were like, I was thinking about, like Rakita the other day, she was like, this spot over here in the hallway is kind of dark. Do you mind if I get a lamp? I'm like, send me a link. And then somebody else asked me, I don't know, if it's a book or whatever. And just like, like Ryan was like, hey, it'd be really nice if we had another one of these tables to attach one. I was like, okay, and I get on that scene, I buy one, and I'm like, just whatever people,
Just like that.
and so I love that, like
Us
a value of that's support. So you know, I have autonomy, support, and promotion. And we've talked about that downstairs. Of those are the guiding values that keep me in line with the mission, and the mission has nothing to do with client care. Because if I take care of the people working at Benjamin Holmes Counseling or Switchback, I can assume that they're going to show up feeling supported and safe and happy, and they're going to do the thing that they want to be doing, which is providing good client care.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like that's a great answer to your question as well, is the trust we have in our therapists is how we know they know we support them. Is whenever I'm scheduling or whenever I'm talking to someone and pairing, because we do a lot of pairing with therapists and for like very specific things, and knowing I can be like, this person has severe trauma and they have a lot of pain they're in. I know they're going to be taken care of by Elisa when they come in or when they see Lauren or something.
She was good.
She's amazing. She's a sweet angel baby.
She's just never available whenever I pop in. I'm like, what you got for 2 o'clock today?
Never. She's always in demand. She's great. She's so great. And knowing that we've supported our therapists so that they're supporting themselves so they can come in and be happy to see their clients. That means the world. And that trust we have in them is insane. I can't believe it's real. Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. I want to go work down there.
Yeah, you basically do. It's like the same concept. Same environment.
You're not going anywhere.
We say that to everyone whenever a client will be like, oh, you can't go anywhere. We're like, oh no, she sold her soul to us. It's
Here forever.
Here forever. Yeah. My joke all the time whenever someone says they like Rachael, like, because she's working as the therapist, and I'll be like, thanks, I'll tell the owner. Or like, thanks, we'll keep her around. I'm like, I'm hilarious. 4 years in, it's still funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so your turnover is maybe another evidence of, like, if you don't have a lot of turnover, people are happy, they're satisfied, and they feel good about where they're at. That's been a point of pride for me too. Like I've had to let go of 2 because they just weren't seeing anybody. Like literally, like they weren't seeing anyone. And then I've had 2 leave when they got their license.
Okay.
And Rachael Epifanio, which is right over there. Shout out to Rachael Epifanio Counseling. I was so proud of her whenever I wanted to keep her. I wanted her to be a fellow. I wanted her to stay on. But she was like, no, I think I'm going to go do my own thing. And then,
that's great.
Yeah. And so then just helping her any way that I can, answering questions.
So
like
cool.
I was just on a phone call with her and her husband, I don't know, last week sometime, and just talking about insurance stuff and how to navigate group contracts and whatnot. And it's that's the type that, like, that's how I want to experience myself. It's like,
I agree.
I can't always guarantee that people will feel helped, but I certainly can try to be helpful.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm the helper for sure. I feel like I'm very much like, you probably don't need all of this, but I can help you. So I love that about not feeling some type of way that someone is leaving your practice to go do their own thing. And we briefly talked about this last week, and I was actually talking to a therapist this morning when you knocked on the door about this, so perfect timing, full circle, about that, is that we have therapists who go out and do their own, and they want to, whether it's make their own schedule or add different modalities or just be independent on their own. And we're the same way. I'm like, what do you need? Do you need help with business licensing? Do you need a tax guy? Do you need refer, like if we have someone leave, we're like, and their clients ask for them, we're like, here's where you can find them, like where can we send them? And you don't see that enough. I think that's so cool that you also do that, because that's how it should be.
I was talking to another practice owner a couple of years ago, and she and I were kind of just sharing notes and things like that, and I just kind of was a bit quiet, and if you can believe it, in the conversation, because she was saying things like, yeah, I make all of my therapists sign a non-compete, and if they ever decide to leave, then they can't take any of their clients. It's like, I don't dig it. I don't dig it at all. Like,
it's just weird.
Yeah.
Plenty of people, plenty of bodies,
Yes.
plenty of mental health needs.
Yeah.
Like there's,
There's
possessive.
You said this, I'm quoting you from like a month ago. You said it comes down to the care. Is that if they want to see Rachael, shout out Rachael, she's also very nice, I met her. If they want to go to her studio, then that's fine. Or if they want to go see an independent somewhere else, like that's also fine, because it's about the care for the person. And if they feel comfortable seeing the person they've been seeing, even if they leave, I feel like that shouldn't, your ego shouldn't get in the way of that.
No.
Or money or retention. There's plenty of bodies. There's plenty of care for
if you
everyone.
can't figure out a way to get more clients to come in, you have a bigger problem
Yeah.
than somebody leaving
Yeah.
and taking their clients with them.
Yeah,
Like,
agreed.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my thing has always been like that. I'm not in competition with anyone.
Yeah.
I just, if I am in competition with anyone else, I'm focused on what other people are doing instead of focused on what I need to be
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And so when Rachael left and she took all of her clients, and I consulted with her as she requested it, and then whenever she was, she even like moved into one of the offices I rented at our previous space on West End.
That's wild.
And then she was dealing with the same like overhead problems that I was dealing with, because every time you added a new office, you might have gotten office 1 at $600 a month, but office 5 was like $1,200 a month. It was ridiculous. I was like, hey, there's a spot over here in our building, and I connected her with, and again, like it would seem silly as a business owner to be like, let's bring in a competing practice right across the hall, but it's just not like that. It's just not at all.
And
there's no competition.
No.
And like, she's in our company group me still. She sends us referrals.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
So it really is, the more relationships that you can have with people, the better off you're going to be. And there's just very few bridges worth burning over clients, over a few dollars.
I feel like a lot of it comes to ego, though. It's a lot of the, these are mine, and it's a weird mentality, and that was a big thing for us too when we started, of being like, we want to involve in the community. We want to connect with Lotus Room and Massage of Nashville and other studios and our independents who have gone out on their own, and be able to reach out to people in Franklin and different cities too. If we have people who aren't from here, to be like, oh, go see Brooke in Franklin, she's great, or something we don't offer, we can send them out to someone else. And that was so important for us to be like, community, connect with other places, and don't look at it as competition, because that doesn't exist. And it's been really cool to see other businesses do that too, in caring for others, not only just massage, but other studios reach out, and estheticians and things like that, and being able to like refer, in the little network of wellness that we have in Nashville has been really cool. So I feel like we're getting away from the stinginess of these are my people and you can't leave, and being more willing to share the care.
So where did all of that come from? So, like, I know my origin story of the type of employer that I value being came from being an employee of individuals who were the opposite of what I want. You know, and that's sometimes how that goes. Or did you guys just have great examples of vocational leadership and you're like, I want to emulate that in my own way, you know?
Gosh,
Which is what I hope Rachel's doing. I hope she's like, I want to do it this way because Benji inspired me to do it this way.
Oh, that's so cool.
You know, maybe. But I certainly, and it wasn't all bad, but like I certainly was like, I don't want to have the same conversation with an employee about their growth and their advancement for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
Like I had with my previous CEO.
Yeah.
You know, and it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So I developed a set of values, like one of them being promotion of like, you do these things, you get these things.
Mm-hmm.
You get this license, you make this much money. You know, you take on these responsibilities, you will have this salary or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not, don't apply for it. You just let me know, okay, I got my license. Okay, well, now you have this title.
Yeah, keep it simple.
So where did your set of values originate from?
I
wanted you to answer.
I think it truthfully was a combination of working in places where I learned what I very much did not want, like that sense of competition. And if you ever leave, you don't get to take your clients. And spoiler alert, if your client likes you, they will find you no matter what. They get creepy stalker. No, they're delightful. But like whether you say anything or not, they will find you. But so like learning through that, but I do also feel like I have worked in a lot, even a lot of places. I've had a few places where there have been really good examples of like, how can I support you in this? Or what do you need to do this? Or even the sense that it doesn't have to be a competition. Like that is one thing, our previous, where we worked together, she was really great at like, it's not a competition. You can build a community.
There's room for everyone.
People will find us because this is what they need, and they'll find somebody else because that's what they need, you know. And so I feel like that definitely, maybe that was the first time I'd really seen the example of it doesn't have to be a competition. We don't have to be fighting against each other. It can be just create a community and, you know, refer to other massage studios because maybe we don't have availability or we don't have that modality, or where we were, there were no male therapists. You know, it's rare people request a male massage therapist, but it happens. And, you know, we didn't have that. So we needed to know the studios that we could send them to that we trusted. And it was kind of a combination of learning what I didn't want and then having some examples of, oh, this is a cool way to do this. Maybe I'll tweak it a little bit to work for us. But,
I agree. I feel like that, I wanted you to answer first because Rachael and I have very different backgrounds in life, just in general. So I wanted to
let's talk about that.
Yes, it's a whole thing.
What was your relationship like with your mother?
I wondered if you would say.
I don't have time for that. I have to wrap up real quick.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, her parents are wonderful people, and she has great family and a great community. So I wondered if that was something that was like a kind of a base of they're great role models to have.
Yes,
your parents are great, good work ethic. Like your dad is fantastic. Yeah. So I wonder if
and even that sense of, I mean, he's a farmer, so it's business ownership, but a little bit different. But that sense of working for yourself and creating what you want. I guess I did have that example too.
That's so cool. Yeah, I did not. I had a different. So I feel like mine's different in a sense of I knew what I didn't want or what I was lacking in life, I guess, from other places I've worked in management or as an employee in like leadership roles, but still between the owner or someone higher up, where I'm like, this is so complicated. Why aren't we just making this direct and simple and like talk to the employees? They're people, you know. And I feel like for me there was so much work around to just connecting, and I really wanted a place where we could just connect honestly and openly. And I think the last place we worked together was good with that too, where the therapists really had a sense of camaraderie that I hadn't seen at another employer, who they just really respected each other and helped each other and mentored each other. And I wanted a place where that could translate to also the ownership and also any leaders. You know, if there was managers or receptionists or whoever, like having a place where everyone felt open and connected to felt really important to me, because that was something that I had lacked previously. Yeah, I feel like we do a good job with it. Yeah.
So treat it like a like a healthy family.
Yeah.
Like like we're a family.
Yeah.
You know, they say now that if a company says, "Oh, we're a family here," you're supposed to run the other way.
Yeah.
They're going to take advantage of you, and they're going to go drip you,
Yeah.
but just some healthy, sort of what you're describing, like your dad's work ethic, and then things that you maybe didn't have or different. That you're like, I want to create that community, this space where people are heard and valued and taken care of.
Yeah. We specifically don't, like, in our, like, handbooks and stuff, we don't put, like, employee, we'll put, like, crew or team.
We do a lot of team members.
Yeah, we say team because it is that, like, not family, because that's creepy. You know, like, fam. Like a little, like, casually in there. Yeah.
At Trader Joe's, they call it mates. Do you know that?
And at Disney, they're cast members.
Oh, cast members.
Oh, that's cute.
Cool.
Yeah.
Were you a mate when you were at Trader Joe's?
I was, no.
Or
Mate
mates are
is
the
like a
boss.
manager,
Oh, okay.
Just came to mind because
Yeah.
I think
So
we're
cute.
just crew.
Crew
members.
Rachel broke her pinky right before we opened, so that's a funny story that we were about to open our doors and just the pinky.
Yeah, but I had to have surgery on it, so then it was out.
How important is the pinky?
Yeah,
So, like,
very.
yeah.
That's the title of the episode.
How can you do this? How important
We've never named an episode, but how important is it?
Might be the one.
That was a gem.
That's the hook right there.
I feel like the pinky's important, but it's not the thumb.
I mean, I don't know that I've ever given a back rub to like my wife or anything really focused on some pinky heavy techniques.
It's a lot of like,
I feel like she'd be like, stop touching me.
So you're out of commission. How did you break your pinky too?
car accident.
Oh no.
No, that's not.
So I went to like I was the passenger and I went to grab the dashboard to brace myself, but I like just jammed my finger straight into it.
Freak accident, pinky of
Watch
all
out for
things.
trucks with ladders, by the way, guys.
Oh really?
Because
The
they
ladder
do
flew off?
not secure them.
Oh no.
Not all of them.
What was that?
Sorry, I'm
Final
sure there's some
Destination.
people-
Yeah, that's some Final
It was
Destination stuff.
definitely
right
some
there.
Final Destination stuff.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild opening.
But we both walked away, so that was
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
that's
just my
good.
pinky.
Just your pinky.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right. Well, I feel like we're at the natural kind of like lull point. I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
This
is
was
so fun.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys are so fun.
Thanks, we try.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is like the least I've talked in a while. I feel like I went into this very like, let them talk. You can ask questions.
You're the
later.
guest.
I know, I have
If you have questions, ask them. I like to
zillion.
talk about myself too,
Oh my
and Shannon, she needs to talk more. So
we
ask some
could be here
questions.
all day. I'm just like,
It's
tell
not a
me about-
criticism.
No, it's okay.
I talk so
I'm
much.
a yapper.
I talk so much. Rachel does not.
I know.
It's a good balance, though. I feel like you
Yeah,
need a
all
balance
day.
between the two.
Yeah. All right. You have questions?
Yes, I just want to hear more about, like, I don't know, what more do you guys do? What is, like, your structure here? And you're just the owner, right?
Yeah.
Like, the only one?
The only
Do you
one.
have, like, a structure beneath you, too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you do have, like, leadership underneath?
Right. You're
And
looking
is-
at her. Well,
and you are?
Yeah.
I
So,
love that, okay.
so the way that you had alluded to, like, I like to hire them right out of college. I like to actually hire them while they're in college. So
While
we
they're in
have
college,
two.
okay.
We have 3 interns right now. 1 at the University of Kentucky and 2 at the University of Tennessee.
Cool.
And they're paid internships. So our interns start and they go through a semester of observation, sitting in on supervision groups or sitting in on
Okay.
staff meetings. They sit in on therapy sessions and they observe therapists doing therapy. And then the second semester, or their last semester, whether they're a 2-year or just a 1-year master's program, but as they wrap up towards graduation, they start seeing some clients of their own.
Okay.
So that they're getting, and they're still being supervised. There's still, a lot of oversight and supervision going on. But then when they graduate with their master's degree, they can just immediately go into building their practice here, and they
Okay.
become resident therapists.
Resident therapist.
So residents are pre-licensed therapists who have the degree, just like a doctor gets their MD.
Yeah.
They are a doctor, but they still have to go through residency. They still need some postgraduate training, supervision, but they're kind of independent. Like my wife she works at Vanderbilt Children's, and she's an attending, and she's always talking about the residents and the fellows. And I was like, oh, I'm going to steal that, and I'm going to create a postgraduate training program that mirrors the medical training program.
That's
so
cool.
You have interns who are still in school, just like doctors, intern doctors who are in med school, and then when they graduate with their MD, or in our case, the MSW or the MS or MA, then they become residents, and that's a 2 or 3 year, depending on how quickly. It can go up to 5 if you're kind of taking a more of a part-time route, but you go through and get your clinical hours. So for our license, you have to have 3,000 face-to-face client service hours and 100 supervision hours.
Okay.
And I think for the LPC track, it's still 3,000, but you have to have like 300 hours or something like that of supervision.
Yeah.
But anyways, once you get all of that done during your residency, and towards the end of your residency, like VO, she was meeting with me, and we're coming up with a plan to get her more ingrained in leadership, but also administratively, because her plan, sadly, is to move to North Carolina in about 1.5 years or so. And so she wants to kind of learn more of the business side. So there's going to be opportunities for her to get more ingrained in the administrative, so that whenever she goes and launches her own business in another state, she has some experience of things that you are not taught in grad school. You're only taught to be a therapist.
Yeah.
When you go to grad school to be a therapist, you're not taught to be a business owner.
Yeah.
So part of that residency program is like, okay, if you do leave when you get your license, let's set you up with some basic understanding of like what a P&L is, and what are, what are the credentialing processes with these insurance companies, and how do you know if your organization is healthy on a cash flow, revenue cycle perspective, and all of these things that I had to figure out on my own.
No one teaches you.
When they get their license, I've been I'm very grateful that we've had 2 therapists get their full clinical license, and they stayed, and now they're fellows. So they're in their fellowship period. So for LCSWs, you have to have your LCSW for 3 years before you can supervise the MSWs for their 3,000 hours.
Okay, makes sense.
But you can supervise interns.
Okay.
And get some supervision experience
before you go.
Before you start supervising for clinical licensure hours. And so that fellowship is a 3-year fellowship, to where, again, it's a bump in pay, but it's also a little bit of a bump in responsibility. And you are getting, paid much more to what an LCSW should be getting paid. And then also you are supervising some interns and getting some experience there. And then if you decide to stay on, which we're not at that point, we've only been around for 4 years. I've only had employees for 3. But eventually, if Dawson and Verkita decide to stay, then they can become attendings. And the attendings are the ones that supervise 4 to 6 of the LMSWs. And there's another little pay bump, and then there's also some bonus structures to kind of make it a little bit more in line with your experience and the length of time you've had your license and things like that. And so it kind of goes like, as far as clinical structure, it's like me, but I don't really supervise anybody. I just kind of like oversee everything. But then it's Shannon, Vanessa, and Jenny. And then they have their LMSWs or masters. And then there's Dawson and Verkita, who supervise our interns.
I love that.
Yeah.
So organized.
And then we have Kaylee. The best thing about having Kaylee is this is another value of mine. It's like, okay, autonomy and support and promotion, right? Kaylee she was like sitting in here one day, and she was like, I touch every single dollar that comes in and out of this place. She's like, I feel like I should have a title more than like administrative manager or billing. I was like, okay, what do you think? She's like, chief revenue officer. I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to pay you more, but okay. And so, I was like, pick your title. It's totally fine. And I was like, as long as you're not assuming a title here to get yourself a title somewhere else.
Yes, we're not doing that.
Right.
Yes,
But she's not. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
I
And
love
so,
that.
yeah, so she kind of splits time between here and the nonprofit and
That's cool.
kind of supporting from an administrative side. And so that's really
so cool.
And then I've got Gracie who kind of keeps us stocked on Izzy's and chips and paper and
You
stuff
gotta
like
have
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the
That's a
structure
big
here.
team. How many therapists do you have? Or employees, I guess.
20, there's
25,
28 including me, and then
Okay.
there's 4 interns. There's 4 interns, and then Kaylee and Gracie.
That's a lot. It's a big team.
Yeah.
But well organized. I love that.
I
That
hope
is-
so.
It seems like it. Well, on paper anyway. That sounds very
Yeah.
organized.
Is it well organized?
It
Yes.
is.
Tell us the
It
truth.
sure
Yes.
is.
Yeah. I
It
love
runs
that.
itself. It's well
It kind of does.
awesome.
Like I went away. It was remarkable. So comparatively to my last job, whenever I was in like a leadership role, I would do the marketing and the admissions for this corporate mental health company. And if I was to take a week off, I had to have like a coverage plan. I had to get other people to agree to do my shit while I was gone. And then invariably when I came back, it was just
It's never
a
right.
train wreck.
Yeah.
It was like nothing got done. You
Yeah,
didn't follow up with
right.
this one. Where's the documentation we needed? We didn't, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I went to Disney for a week, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I came back and it was just like, nothing.
Still there.
Oh, I love
Everybody
that.
just comes and does their job. And I think
that.
making it so simple to where you are in control. I treat every single therapist like their own business. And so you take care of your business. You have nothing to do with this other person.
I love that.
Your success does not depend on this person doing anything for you. You do you, and we're
That's
good.
awesome. That's a
And
lot of
everybody does it.
I
Yeah.
think they like that. Like, that's exactly how our therapists are. It's like, don't worry about what they're doing. If they're doing a CE for Ashiatsu, you don't have to. Like, just because Elitza is doing 5 modalities, you don't have to. You can stick with your 3. It's okay. And I feel like that's a really cool structure to have.
I think it's interesting to me how much that sort of like feeds into the therapist, at least for us, like supporting each other then. Like,
Yeah.
because they're not required to support each other,
Yeah.
to like depend on each other in any sort of way. They just sort of naturally, oh, do you need help with this? Can I, oh, I tried this modality. Let me tell you about it. Or, oh, you're interested in Ashiatsu? Here's where I took the class. I thought they were, like, they just naturally sort of support each other because they're not required to.
Yeah, 'cause
their
they
job
care.
doesn't depend on it. I think it's just really interesting how that
And,
works.
and I also think because like I'm not as connected to this as I would like to be. Maybe that's not true. I'm probably as connected to it as I want to be. But I don't think that there's like a sense of competition either among our therapists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there is this kind of like willingness to help because I'm not like if I help you grow and get better at what you're doing, that's not going to negatively impact you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives you like a sense of like camaraderie for things, of just naturally wanting to help each other do better, especially with you guys with licensing and stuff too. It's like growing. It's like wanting to support that because it's not going to hurt you any. It's just helping your fellow teammates.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. My only other question I wanted to ask you guys was, do you have like specific clientele that you look for, or are you just kind of like across the board with
Everything.
Everybody.
Okay, cool.
Anything.
Everybody. We have
Good
2
as me.
Spanish-speaking therapists. We
Cool.
have 2 brain spotting therapists.
Nice.
We have how many
4
EMDR therapists?
4 EMDR.
Well, Jacob
Okay.
now.
Oh, really?
Jacob, he's getting trained
Oh,
too.
5. Okay, there's 5 of
So
us.
I don't know that he's ready to start taking EMDR
Okay.
clients, but we have 4 or almost 5 EMDR therapists. We have therapists with trauma certifications.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jenny she is our couples
EFT,
wizard.
Couples.
Oh, okay.
If you got people with
emotions
marital
focused
problems,
therapy.
Okay.
like I stopped doing couples and I send everybody to Jenny because I was
Nice.
like, she's better than me.
Yeah, if she likes doing it too, it's like, go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
getting like a PhD in
And
something to do
betrayal,
with
like,
in
betrayal.
intimate betrayal.
was her
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
dissertation.
Jonelle's also getting a PhD.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So we have some really fancy people around here.
That's so cool.
We have veterans.
Cool.
registered dietitian
Okay.
right over here.
Okay.
Lawyers.
We have 2
former-
lawyers, 2 former attorneys.
I love that.
Variety in there.
I just
We
got
have
that.
autism specialists. We have OCD specialists. We have
that's awesome.
neurodivergent therapists
Cool.
who provide, coaching and therapy for the neurodivergent population.
Very cool. Are they considered neurodivergent affirming therapists?
I would assume so, since they
learned-
are themselves neurodivergent.
I would hope so then, yeah. I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say both.
We have.
I didn't know there was a difference until my therapist taught me that, where she was like, there's neurodivergent where they're trying to correct the behavior, which is also fine. But then there's neurodivergent affirming where they're like trying to like just get you through what you currently are working with kind of thing. So I have had people ask me that. I was like, I did not know there was a difference there.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I know before I refer people out.
Yeah.
We have representation in the LGBTQI community. We have.
Cool.
So I'm
Good to know.
very proud of
love
the
that.
diversity and the
You should
wide
be.
range of walks of life and backgrounds, and
That's
we
cool.
have people who will provide Christian, therapy
Very
as well,
cool.
Christian counseling. So
Addiction. Domestic
addictions,
violence.
yeah. I mean, we got it all.
I love that though. But I love that you have all that in a safe space too, where it's not just like, this is all that we're working with and you're not welcome if you're not in this little bubble of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially
I
with
love
like reaching out for help. It's nice to feel like a safe environment for
Oh, and
anyone.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
We have several people who have
That's
kids.
cool. Okay.
I'm
Very cool.
Not one of, I'm one of
Families,
Shannon's examples of like, I like my own kids. Not like other people's
I
apparently.
hear your kids are very cute.
They're
I hear
good.
nothing but good things about your kids and your dogs. Obviously.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yes.
who's talking about my kids?
Oh, people in the
Shannon
building.
keeps coming down
Yeah.
talking about your kids. It's really weird.
Yeah.
No, Lindsay says how cute your kids are all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Lindsay.
Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when you said you went to Disney, I was like, yeah, I got pictures of your dogs while you were there.
Yeah. What
Anyway,
would we
that's
do
all my
without
questions.
Lindsay? Yeah, okay.
What would any of us do without Lindsay? You guys don't know her. She's wonderful.
She's our dog walker,
Yeah.
house sitter,
She's
and
my
also
best friend.
best
I
friend
live
of
with
her. And
her.
we did not know that.
No
Oh, weird.
wild turn of events. Lindsay was walking in while you were walking out. She was like, I think I just saw Benji. And I was like, Benji? Benjamin? She's like, yeah. Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all my questions for now. I'll just text you the rest
Those
of
were
them.
fantastic
Yeah.
questions.
I'm like I always have a zillion questions.
You're curious.
I really
Curious
am.
person.
I feel like that's when the clients come in to chat with me. I'm always like, how was this? How was that? Okay,
You
complete
want
your
to know
massage.
everything? Yeah.
Yes, this is a time-related service. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
All right, great. That was a wonderful podcast.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us. This was
Thank you,
fun to
guys.
chat with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not just in passing in the hallway.
Come on up and chat anytime.
Cool.
Make a bounce.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Coffee's almost gone, so it must be time to go.
Yeah.